Combined development application, 87 to 89 Davidson Street, Port Douglas. You said in council this was a good development.
Absolutely, the Veri developments are really, they're smart, they're environmentally friendly. All his builds are done in a way that really suit the environment up here, and that's what we like about them, because they're high-end buildings, they're classy, they're good, they utilise the land properly to still allow airflows and light through, and they're good properties, and we're very happy he's taken on this one, and it will be an asset for the street.
Cattle grid policy. Cattle grids. Why would there be bad cattle grids and good cattle grids?
Well, I suppose there's legislations around it. I'm not a favourite with all the different rules that are in place, but there's areas there where we've got some cattle farmers and we've got some residents, and there's been issues over the years of the cattle going outside their boundaries, and other people don't want the cattle grids, and some people want cattle grids, and there's been a lot of contention over it, and we've got to get this right. And some of the councillors obviously had concerns still, so it's one of those ones I think it's important that we do get it right, because it needs to be looked at, because if cows are walking on the road, they do become a liability for council, so it's something that's important we have to look at.
And there was talk by councillors that there's a policy of giving people 60 days. There is a cost sometimes to remove it. Does council pay for that, or the ratepayer?
Well, I mean, the way it was written in the policy itself, it was going to be a council expense if it was an item that wasn't to scratch, because again, if a car was to go over it and a car was damaged, it becomes a liability to council. So council has to ensure that we remove it as quickly as possible, and I think that's the intention of where the policy was going. As Councillor Scomerson said, is it something the ratepayer should be paying for, or could it be costed on to the person who owns the cattle grid? We don't know that. I think there's legal things that we need to look at, and that's why it was recommended that it was adjourned for the time being.
Regional Arts Fund. A lot of money there.
Absolutely. It's a great sum of money that's given to us by the state government for the the Regional Arts Development Fund, and council has to contribute to it as well. So we're allocating budget to add to it, to make sure it's a good pool of money and it goes to some great projects. And the second part of that motion was to accept the projects themselves that the RADF committee have chosen. There's some great artworks there. Looking forward to seeing what comes of it, and we've got a new arts officer here in council who only just started recently, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does in the future with this fund and get some new applicants and some new projects happening in the region.
Capital Works report. Lisa Scomerson was concerned 112 projects, $37 million, but we've only completed 24. Is that up to scratch?
If you look at the amount of work that we do for a little council, we're only a small council, and we had $32 million, I believe it was, last year within our capital works budget, and that's a lot of works that has to get done by a small amount of people.
The rates pensioner remission policy, this has been a contentious issue for a while.
It has, and it's really exciting to get this across the line, because it used to be that you had to you only got your discount if both people were on a pension. So, if one had retired and one was on a pension, the other person, still had to pay the full price. At least now, if one person is, they get it pro rata.
Sole Specialised Supplier Register. Now, these are people that do work for the council, and it was brought up by Lisa Scomerson, for one, said, how do we know what they're charged? Are they charging correctly? Because I've done stories on councils down south where contractors have said to me, oh, it's only council, we load it up because they can afford it. But it's not the council, it's the ratepayers.
Exactly, and you hear those stories all the time, oh, it's council at 20%. That's not the case anymore. We're very heavily audited. We have external auditors, internal auditors, engineers, the probity staff, they all look over these quotes just to make sure that they sit right. And if they don't look right, they do go back to them. So, I absolutely know the staff do the best to make sure they get the best price they can for the ratepayers. Financial report table, how are we going? Absolutely, we're tracking along quite nicely. I think, it's still early days, being only April, so there's a couple of months there, and this is when the big bills start flowing in, and we'll see them. And I know we're definitely still going to have a deficit, but we're sitting in company of over 50% of the councils in Queensland are all having deficits. We had to cover from everything that happened in COVID, helping out our ratepayers as much as possible. But we're certainly on track for a good budget. Daintree Ferry Advisory Committee. I know you wanted this to get up. It didn't get up.
you know, we had people speak against it, saying that, you know, an advisory committee is just too less of people. We need to hear more from the other side of the river. Where do we stand with that now? I know that this was only the terms of reference, but is it dead in the water?
Well, I mean, September meeting, we passed a resolution to have an advisory group, so it's still sitting on the table. This was the terms of reference, so the councillors' comments were that wouldn't be getting enough information from just a small group. But yeah, I know I'm on the street all the time. I'm talking to these people, and I'm sure the councillors are as well. They get lots of information. This is just one particular group that we're looking at that we could get together in a more formal situation and say, what do you think of this? Well, a committee would certainly help because it gives us just that other lot of information within a formal setting. So, you know, we'll move on and we'll reassess it, and I'm sure we'll discuss it again.